Imagine it's October 31st, Halloween night. Festivities came to a close, and you are asleep in your bed. Suddenly, you are awoken by the sound of crashing and crunching metal. You step outside to see what's happened, and before you, there lies a person who is ejected from their vehicle, motionless on the ground. You feel horrified and wish that there was something that you could do to help. Life-threatening illnesses and injuries happen every day, and they can happen to anyone. Now, this story is a real story that happened, from my perspective, last Halloween, 2020, although I was able to help. I spent the past 4 years as an Army medic, where I maintained my EMT certificate for those 4 years, and I've also maintained my basic life support certificate for the past 9 years. So today we're going to talk about the importance of bystander intervention and what you can do to help. First, we're going to discuss the leading causes of death. Then we're going to discuss the importance of bystander intervention. And finally, we're going to look at what we can do to help. So the leading causes of death are trauma, traumatic injury, heart attack, and stroke. Now, in an article found on the website Trauma Mortality and the Golden Hour by an article written by Chris Nixon on November 3rd, 2020, he states that trauma is the leading cause of death for people under 40 years in developed countries. And he goes on to say it's also a major killer for older groups behind heart attack and stroke and cancer. Now, on heart.org, we see that 46% of US adults have hypertension. So we can see how complications of heart disease and stroke are bound to arise. Now, in another article found on metalerthealth.org, written by Damjana Sikarik in April of 2020, states that in 2020, April 2021, states that in 2020, 805,000 people in the United States had a heart attack. Now, this goes to show us that the people around us can be susceptible to life-threatening illnesses such as heart attack, and they can fall prey to these at any moment. So now that we know what's killing people, let's take a look at bystander intervention. For emergency care, fast response is paramount to the survival of the patient and to prevent death. This is where bystander intervention comes into play. A pivotal part of emergency medicine is quick response. As time goes on, the survival rate for the patients decreases. Now, in that same article from earlier, Nixon tells us the term the golden hour is attributed to a guy named R. Adams Cowley, founder of Baltimore's renowned shock trauma institution, states that in an article in 1975, Cowley said the first hour after injury determines the critically injured person's chance of survival. We call it the golden hour, and it's widely known in the field of emergency medicine. And it goes to remind us of the importance of quick response. In another article found on nationalacademics.org, Dr. John Holcomb and registered nurse Jory Klein on June 17, 2016 state that the delivery of optimal trauma care is critical to prevent unnecessary death and disability. It goes on to say that in 2014, 20% of trauma deaths may have been prevented. In another article found on practiceupdate.com on May 11th, 2018, Dr. Robert Meyerberg tells us bystander defibrillation adds to the benefits of other bystander response, and any bystander response is better than none. So now that we've seen the importance of bystander intervention and how quick reaction is key for survival, let's see how we can help. We need to be prepared for emergency situations. We need to have supplies and the know-how to use them and how to respond. Be prepared. Be prepared at any times in any situations you have to provide emergency care. Have a first aid kit in your home, vehicle, and place of work. Know how to use the supplies and know where your first aid kits are at all times. Make sure they're stocked with proper supplies. Take a course from the American Red Cross on first aid. Now, at redcross.org, in an article, they tell us that first aid training for adults focuses on how best to provide care for adults and children in your life. It goes on to give us examples such as they cover cuts, burns, falls, broken bones, and other wide variety of injuries. And they claim to give you the confidence and the skills to help in times of crisis. Another thing that you can do is become BLS certified. Take the basic life support course through the American Heart Association. The AHA tells us that the BLS course trains for prompt recognition of several life-threatening emergencies, and they teach the proper administration of CPR and the early use of an AED or defibrillator. Now, we also need to know where the nearest AED is in any public situation because they're often found in public places. So now that we've seen what we can do to help, let's wrap it up. So first we talked about leading causes of death. Next we talked about the importance of bystander intervention. And then finally we talked about what we can do to help. Now that we've covered all these, hopefully we can be the difference between life or death for someone by being the bystander that responds. And when we're confronted with the situation like the accident on Halloween, we'll know exactly what to do to help.